Hey everyone, it's Sam with another live video here for you, talking about reading, writing, fandoms, and everything in between. Hopefully today this will also be a pretty quick one. I said that sometimes I'm trying to keep these to 15 minutes or less. I'm just doing a book review today, so not a huge thing. That's me talking. But a good writer must also be a good reader. I'm sure we all know that. So my question to you each month is, what are you reading these days? And I guess part two, how will that influence your own writing, or what can you learn from that for your own writing? So I'm about to give you my answer. I just finished this book. You guys know I'm a fan of the Star Wars, a fan of the Star Wars books. This is a new series, or newish, I guess. Star Wars: The High Republic. This is the first book, at least the first one for adults. It's called Light of the Jedi. This by Charles Soule. This came out in January. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I liked, what I didn't like. I mean, honestly, there's not much I didn't like. This was a fun read that captured me the whole way through. But I'll talk about things I hope to glean from it as a writer, and of course, I'll get into discussions about the Star Wars lore and world like that too. But if you're watching and you're listening and you want to drop in the comments, what are you reading these days, and how will it influence your writing? I'd love to hear from you too. Okay, so Star Wars: The High Republic. Um, let's see. Well, first of all, I knew I liked this author. Actually, Charles Soule has written for Marvel Comics as well. So I'm familiar with him already. He's written Wolverine and Daredevil, and even some of the Star Wars comics, I think, like the Darth Vader series. This is the first novel of his I've read. I looked it up. I think he's written a few others that may not be Star Wars, but so I knew I liked him as an author, and I knew I thought I was going to like the High Republic. I hadn't gotten into it yet. If you're not familiar with that, with what this is, what the High Republic means, excuse me, it's a kind of a new franchise they're doing within the Star Wars universe. Basically, being meaning the height of the Republic. You know, when we see the movies, the Republic, or but by the time, but by the original movies, it's the Empire is ruling. In the prequels, the Republic was still in power, but they were falling. The prequels are about how the Republic falls. So this takes place before that, a good deal before that, and is like the height, or the golden age, if you will, of the Galactic Republic, and you know who was around then. What are the Jedi doing then? And it's a whole franchise they're doing. I think they started this year, but like there's comics of the High Republic that I haven't read yet, but I probably will get to sooner or later. There's some young adult novels too. I'm not sure if I'll get to those just because I can't read everything, and I don't usually read young adult stuff these days. But there's also this series of novels for adults too, and this is the first one. I think it came out in January. Second one is out. I haven't read it yet. Second one came out in like June or something. So there's two. I'm not sure if it's going to be a trilogy or even more than a trilogy. I'm not sure yet, but we'll get there. And so let's see how I was going to do this. I'll tell you a little bit about just the book, and I guess on the way, hopefully, I'll hit the things I liked. Um, some of you might know, if you're a fan of the Star Wars franchise like I am, this isn't the first time they've delved into, you know, the Republic, or like the history of the Republic, because there's the Old Republic, which has been done before. There's, you know, the popular games, Knights of the Old Republic. There's also been some comics and some novels, I think, of that era. And of course, if you're familiar with the canon, that stuff has all been declared not canon now because Disney, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, what, a few years ago now, well, I guess Force Awakens came out 6 years ago, so this was in the past 10 years, and they kind of restarted the continuity, and everything that came before was not canon. It's now referred to as Legends. So the Old Republic stuff is now considered Legends, but I know it has a good fan base, a good following, and it's out there. And I gotta admit, I'm a Star Wars guy. I mean, I've read a number of books. I've read a number of the comics. I mean, maybe I'm shouldn't have my collection before. I've dedicated a good part of my fandom consumption to the Star Wars expanded universe. And the Old Republic is an area I'm not super familiar with. It's probably my weak area. I'm not too familiar with the games. I read some of the comics years back. And by the way, the old Republic comics were written by John Dexter Miller, one of the authors of Star Wars books. But I actually had a chance to interview him a little while ago on this video series /podcast. So go find that episode if you haven't heard it already. So that's kind of cool. But overall, I'm not super familiar with the old Republic era. It's just for whatever reason, that's the area I haven't followed that much. I'm not a gamer. I'm a reader, and I haven't actually spent much time in that era. But from what I do know, what little I do know, it was like so it was like I don't know, thousands of years before the movies, like I don't know, 4,000 years back or something like that. And one thing that always struck me as weird when I did read those a little bit was like it's 4,000 years ago, but everything seems the same. Like technology and stuff hasn't shifted that much. It's like there's still lightsabers and starships and everything like that. It's still there. And I mean, again, I haven't delved into that world, so I don't know if any of the other works explored cultural or technological differences or anything like that. But it seemed to me like it was, with like maybe like 4,000 or whatever was a number they slapped on there to say this is in the past, but it wasn't really like it didn't really correspond to what a world or a galaxy would actually be like 4,000 years beforehand. Um, I mean, 4,000 years ago for us is like a long, long time ago. I mean, that's before Jesus. That's like ancient history. Um, it's like, I mean, our world today, if we were like a fictional world and you were like, oh, this happened 4,000 years before, it would be totally unrecognizable. That always kind of struck me as a little weird, and I didn't. I mean, I guess it's hard for me to reconcile in my head that it's 4,000 years before. So this book is different. I mean, this isn't going by the existing old Republic stuff. This is kind of similar concept, but starting again. And I read online, it's set 200 years or so before the movies. I guess before the prequel movies. And 200 years, I can more live with. I mean, yeah. I mean, still a long time ago, but like you know, our society. If you went back 200 years, there would be some things you recognize. You could have a conversation in more or less the same language with that person. Yes, there's cultural and technological differences, but it's not completely unrecognizable. So 200 years to me felt more believable than going back 4,000 years or whatever it was. And basically, let's see. And there are some cultural differences. I mean, they aren't focused on too much, but it's like hyperspace is a new thing. Hyperspace is what they use to travel between planets, and most of the Star Wars movies kind of take it for granted and just have that as in the background. This one kind of makes it a plot point. I'll get to that in a minute. But like they mentioned like hyperspace is a relatively new technology that's only been explored maybe within about maybe 100 years before this starts. So that's that feels more believable to me. And like they even mentioned, I guess the concept of the Republic is fairly relatively new because like hyperspace is what enables it to be a Republic. One character says that at some point in the novel. Um, it's like that's what enables travel and connection between planets and stuff. And without hyperspace or just worlds alone in the dark, someone says that. And so just the concept of the Republic together as a single entity is relatively new to them too in the past maybe 100 years before this. So that's kind of cool. I guess you can compare it to like the maybe the colonial days of America or something like that. Again, 200 years ago in our history, whatever. So that's interesting to me. I mean, it's not the very origin of this universe or anything, but most things are still the same. They still have starships. They still have lightsabers. I mean, they didn't make technological differences a huge point, but they have explained some things that are relatively new that are taken for granted in other parts of the Star Wars universe. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. So I'm not always a world building guy, but just the Star Wars universe has that element of world building. I thought it was cool. I thought it was more interesting to read that. And I thought to myself 200 years ago. Well, I mean, like Yoda should still be around because he's like 900 years old. And yeah, and they mentioned him. He's not really a character in this because it's an ensemble cast, but they name dropped Yoda a few times, and like he's like off there with the younglings somewhere. So I like the consistency. There's at least one connection to characters we know, even if it's years and years before Luke. There's at least Yoda is around. By the way, I'm still waiting for them to write a backstory of long, long ago when Yoda was young, like his training as a young Jedi Padawan. I don't think it's happened yet. I had an idea for a fan fiction like that when I was younger, and I don't think anyone's actually written it. Maybe in Legends because there's so much Legends stuff out there. I haven't read it all, but I don't think it's been done in canon. But one of these days, look out for that Yoda Jedi Padawan. Anyway, I spent longer than I meant to on that point. What else did I like about this? So I'll tell you the plot ish, and I did mention. Sorry, the title says this of the video. I am going to give minor spoilers, nothing huge, but they're just things that you probably would have gotten if you read the inside flap cover or the first two chapters. But I will give some minor spoilers. So not from the end of the book, but from like the first couple parts. So if you don't want that, be warned. But otherwise, just listen. So it starts out with a space disaster. I told you hyperspace was a plot point. So that there's a spaceship in the middle of space, of hyperspace, that's torn apart for reasons unknown yet. Like it's supposed to be a routine hyperspace run, but the ship is torn apart, and then the debris, of course, is falling out of hyperspace onto all these different worlds. And basically, the Jedi are called upon to minimize casualties where they can, figure out what. First to deal with the immediate crisis, and then to figure out what caused it and such like that. So it's a very exciting opening. It pulls you right into the action. The first 120 pages, I think, are just this response to the immediate crisis. I mean, after that, they move beyond that. It's divided up into like three parts, I think. But and spoiler warning, we find out that the crisis was actually caused by some bad guys who the Jedi will later fight or try to track down. But the first 100 or so pages are just this fast-paced Jedi response to a crisis. So it's not boring at all. It pulls you right into the action. You avoid the info dump, as some people say. And I actually, this isn't criticism of the book, just of my, I guess of my habits maybe. I was only able to read like maybe 30 pages a night because I'm or 20 or 30 because I'm busy now. I can only read for maybe 30 to 30 minutes to an hour before bed because that's the reading time I have. So I read that section in probably a week or more, but it was only supposed to take place in like a couple of hours. So it felt fast paced, and I felt like I wanted to keep reading, but I was like, but I can't because I only have so much time per day. So I would just say, if you can, if you get a chance to read it, try to read those first 100 pages or so in less time than I did, like in maybe even a day if you can, or less than a week, because it's supposed to feel fast paced. And after that, it'll stretch out a little bit more. But yeah, it is a fast paced opening that grabs you in, and you'll want to, I guess, stay invested and interested through that. And like I said, after that, it's the Jedi going on various missions, trying to figure out what caused this hyperspace disaster, trying to find the bad guys behind this. I will say it's book one of at least two, probably three or more. I'm not sure how many it's going to be. So it's not a conclusive ending yet. I mean, if you're hoping for like all the good guys coming together to confront the bad guys head on, doesn't quite happen in this book. I imagine that they're building up to that in future books. But it is a good start to this conflict or this adventure with the Jedi. Next thing I was going to say, yeah, one good thing, or at least I think it's good. Not everyone likes it, but we'll see. I mean, some people might find it difficult. Is the characterization? There is an ensemble cast. There's as far as all the different Jedi, even in the back, you can see there's a Wookiee who's a Jedi. That's cool. He is not like a major character, but he's in it a little bit. There's basically it's an ensemble cast. There's like three main pairs of Jedi they follow, like two Master Apprentice pairs and one pair of other Jedi Knights who are just friends. And then each chapter has one different character's perspective. I mean, it's all third person omniscient, but they have different perspective characters. And there's some chapters from the villain's perspective and like other minor characters like officials in the government and things like that, and like one family who the villains are attacking and things like that. So it is an ensemble cast with many different perspective characters. Some people find that hard to follow. I like it when it's done well, and I do think it's done well here. It makes it feel real and feel I guess complex and nuanced. One thing I will say, and this will also contain some minor spoilers. Soule does well at I guess fleshing out even the minor characters so that they feel real, which is something I struggle with in my writing. If you've heard my story, any portion of it, or heard me talking about it, mine's a superhero story, and I'm trying to give their backstory. And it's an ensemble cast with like 5 or 6 main characters. I'm trying to get their backstory as well as their current story, so it's been hard. I know I have a lot of backstory that I need to cut, and I'm working on that. Soule does well at making characters feel fleshed out without like wasting a lot of time on them or giving you a full backstory. And he does that for pretty much every character, good and bad and neutral and on the sidelines. They all feel real. The first 2 chapters, here's some minor spoilers. um, are perspectives of the disaster that happens. The first first one is the pilot of the ship that blows up. The second one is like a technician of like someone who's monitoring the ship from the ground and then sees the wreckage. And Soule gives you enough so that they feel like a character. He gives you, he tells you their hopes and dreams and a little bit of their history and things like that, so they feel like a character, and then they die. That's spoilers. Don't get attached to anyone in the first two characters or in the first two chapters because they die. They're just observing the disaster from firsthand, but they feel like real characters, so it makes you connect to them. It makes you think this is a real person, and then they die, and you can feel the impact of that disaster. And yeah, and he does this even with the different Jedi pairs who come in, and with like minor characters who are working for the Republic, trying to help them. So it's cool. Everyone is fleshed out. Everyone feels like they have hopes and dreams and history and stuff like that. So I think it's done well. For an ensemble cast and for a book without one main character but several main characters, I think it's done well. Some people may not like that always. Some people find it hard to follow, but I think it's fleshed out well enough that it's not hard to follow. At least wasn't for me. I will say that this is just book one. The Jedi teams stay mostly separate this time. So the three kind of teams I mentioned, they don't really interact much. They're kind of given separate narration. I'm sure they will in the future in future books. Like I said, I'm sure they're building to a time when all the good guys are coming together to take on the bad guys. Hasn't happened yet. It's just book one. So these days you get at least a trilogy. You can expect things to be drawn out a lot more. But it is a good introduction. It makes you care about the characters, even if they're all new characters. These aren't these aren't the familiar characters you've known from the movies. They're all new characters. But he makes you care about them, and he makes you want to root for them and want to find out what happens next. So and he makes it all feel connected. So this is a good read for me. I think it will be for you too. I know it's not everyone's thing, but if you like Star Wars, if you like sci-fi, high action adventure, the first, like I said, the first part where it's just like Jedi responding to a disaster, the first 120 pages or so, it feels very good, like very clear good guys versus a clear threat. It's not, they're not clearly fighting the bad guys yet, but it's what I'm saying is it's like very heroic, very classic. I know sometimes today we have our tortured heroes, and some people don't like that, and I'm mixed on that. I like it sometimes. It depends, but this first bit feels very much like good guys coming together against a clear threat, taking action, getting things done. So that's a cool feeling to have sometimes when you're reading. And after that, it's still more of that. It's still more of clear good guys fighting clear bad guys, I think, and just trying to figure out where the threat is coming from. Again, there's not like a head-on confrontation in this book. Kind of there is toward the end, but it's not the end of the battle by any means. There's more coming. So it's not going to be interesting in these characters. I want to read a book 2. I'm going to ask for that for Christmas. I'm not sure how many more books are coming out. I assume it'll be at least a trilogy, if not more. So that's interesting. Book 2 is called The Rising Storm. It's by not Charles Soule, but Kevin Scott, who's written some other Star Wars books. I'm pretty sure it's already out. I think it's in it is. One other thing, this minor thing I noticed while I was reading this, if you're tired of hearing about government response to a crisis, after all this time for COVID and stuff, you may not like parts of it. That wasn't the main focus by any means. The chancellor and the government characters are like background characters, but just like after the hyperspace disaster, they have to close some portions of hyperspace, and there's some government debate around that, whether that's a good idea or not. And I'm like, oh, this sounds familiar. And of course, I gotta say, I was reading this a week ago on 9/11, and I also had the thought of comparing it to government response to a huge crisis committed by terrorists that took many lives. It didn't ruin the book for me, but that hit close. It made me think of that. So if you're someone who seeks escapism from fiction, that may or may not hit close to home from you. Hit close to home. It's still an escapist book. It's still a fun space adventure, but some parts maybe are almost too close to real life. Again, that's not the focus of the story. It didn't change too much for me, but I would just say, yeah, if that's going to bother you even a little bit, maybe watch out. But overall, I think it's a great book. You'll like it if you like Star Wars. You'll like it if you like high space adventure, good guys versus bad guys, that kind of thing. So go check it out. And that went by a lot faster than I thought it would. I have more things to say, but I'll kind of wrap it there. So I recommend that one. Those things about the minor characters and the world building are things I hope to kind of implement into my own writing and pick that up if I can. So I'll leave you for now. But I wanted to quickly give you an update of something that's happening next week. Saturday the 25th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, which is 2 o'clock Central Time. I'm going to do a group discussion about J.R.R. Tolkien and his works in honor of Hobbit Day. Hobbit Day is this Wednesday, the 22nd. I'll do it the weekend after. Kind of asking the question of, is Tolkien still relevant today? How much influence has he had on us? What are the good and bad aspects of his works and his fandom and his legacy? I'm looking forward to talking with some of my friends about that. Some of my friends who are even more into Tolkien than I am. I'll create an event for that, but look for it on Saturday the 25th. That's a week from today. Sorry, a week from tomorrow, actually. And we'll hear more about that. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep reading, writing, and rocking, and may the force be with you all. Bye.